Alright guys, welcome to VALORANT news. Absolute chaos in the VCT yesterday. All the Ascension winners around the world have officially been locked in. We know the teams that will be in the VALORANT Champions Tour next season. We do not, however, know what the rosters of those teams are necessarily going to be. Lots of drama. What MIBR are doing. Have they made a verbal agreement with a certain player? And also Fnatic with Chronicle Gondor Vitality, who is going to be their fifth man. Some serious rumours as to some of the players they might well be trialling. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. Let's dive right in. So, if you guys don't remember, in China last week, it was DRG. They regained their spot back in the Pro League for next season. Now, yesterday we had the big games around the world. This was Boom Esports versus Nongshim. This was to decide which team made it back in. Of course, Boom got the promotion last time out. I mean, it was Sinprasa Gaming that became Nongshim Red Force. Then it was Boom Esports who also qualified through because of the Bleed Esports drama. But this time, Boom Esports not quite enough. Again, in the same way that in Europe, it's the Turkish teams dominating. In the Pacific right now, it is the Korean teams dominating. So Nongshim get back in. Francis and the boys RB, of course, notably enough as well from some of the DRX days. They make it back in. It was that Songnam, the other Korean team, they also ascended. So congrats to both of those teams. They got back in the league. The other team to make it from EMEA was BBL Pacific. And again, a lot of this stuff doesn't even take much prediction. All you do is you pick the Turkish team to win, and then they win. And that's what happened again. So, yeah, so Dynasty, they, unfortunately for them, go down. A couple of British players here, but Lovers Rock, among others. Well, look, it's just another load of Turkish players who are just unbelievable at Valorant. So, congrats to those guys. BBL Pacific make it in. Of course, I think there will have to be some sort of, implications made here because you can't really have two BBL teams in the same thing. So I think it'll just go back to being Pacific or whatever, and it's probably all be fine. But nonetheless, pretty interesting anyway that kind of an academy team managed to qualify, although it's not like Qbert exactly for Sentinels. It's a bit of a different story there, but still an interesting one. And just to quickly look at this, next year in Europe, we are going to have these Turkish players, 25 of them in the region. So, yeah, quite remarkable to see all of these teams that officially made it and qualified along various other different teams, understandably, as we well know. But in the Americas, this was the big result, really, of yesterday, with so many questions coming into Ascension, who was going to win. Like, everyone kind of expected this to be EnVy versus TSM for the battle. It was EnVy versus TSM for the battle. And it was EnVy that came out on top. Now, I think it's been a very interesting couple of weeks because we understand that TSM's head coach has already possibly agreed to join 100 Thieves next season. We understand that Timotino and Vora have also possibly agreed to join 100 Thieves next season anyway. So, like, those guys, great, they get back in. It's particularly brutal for Seven, for, GMD, for Alvin Boy. Like, Timotino I rate highly, didn't have a great series here. But he's getting promoted anyway, we think, right, with 100 Thieves. So, it's all rather interesting. We actually did see this. Timotino was playing this series. EnVy are up 1-0 at this point. He's got the 100 Thieves gun buddy going on here, right? So, just something to keep an eye on and potentially to think about there. But EnVy, they get the job done. Eggster and Ions and the boys, of course, Kane Zero and Ion, not yet old enough to compete properly in the league next year. But what an individual performance from all of these guys. It's actually such a great story, I think, in the Americas, this, because, it's not that long ago where these guys were the rankers, right? They came up from, as not like a troll team, but, like, they were obviously taking it seriously. But they weren't, backed by anything. They were just kind of making waves. People were like, yeah, these guys are pretty good. I mean, effectively, it was considered Baby J and the boys, right? Because Baby J, now known as Inspire, it's actually a great story for him. You guys remember, like, people would roast Baby J, and understandably, because he'd be like, well, I'm good enough for tier 1, so I shouldn't have to play tier 2. And then he decided, all right, you know what, fair enough, I'll play tier 2. Picked up a load of guys, and all of a sudden they were in the Pro League. So, fair play to Baby J, to Inspire, for making this happen. It's a great story. Eggster in the Pro League next season. See you in the VCT. EnVy tweet this out on the 6th of February when Baby J hit up EnVy and said, hey, you should sign my team. You want a Valorant team? We are the team to have a look at. They had a couple of stumbles along the way as EnVy, but I always felt like they were probably the favourites. I think what was impressive here is that, these are young guys generally, right? So for them to maintain the level that they had showed, in such a series against a very mighty opposition in TSM was very impressive. As he says, I knew my value, but only a few saw it too. I want to thank Poppin for making it all come together, EnVy and Hastro for believing in us to the end, and the entire team for grinding it out. Never forget this day when I return to the top. And Hastro was buzzing about it as well. So, look, there was a lot of talk from Hastro. If they were to ascend, what would happen to Kane, to Ions, who are not old enough to actually compete yet? Because EnVy will not be able to come in purely with their roster of 5. Now, I think Hastro did say that those guys will be able to stay contracted. They will still support them, like they will have an EnVy Challengers team next season alongside their EnVy Pro League team. If those guys want to stay, they may want to go, but if they want to stay part of EnVy and try and effectively qualify again or whatever, because look, hypothetically, if EnVy do a killer job in the league next season with whatever they do to round out their roster, then they could stay in the Pro League, right? And maybe in 2027, they get selected to stay anyway, right? Maybe in 2027, because they've qualified now, it's pretty perfect timing. The partnership contracts are renewed, and if we get a partnership deal, could be perfect timing for those other guys to come back in. So there's lots of questions for EnVy to answer over the next couple of months. I think one of the key ones for many of us is, okay, what are they going to do to round out their team? So Exter, Baby J, and of course Poppin. What are they going to do? Now, you guys may remember that over the last couple of months, we have talked about some rumours on occasion. There was a rumour that went around a couple of months ago that if they ascended and they needed to make a couple of changes, they would go and get Demon1. Now, I don't know, again, the validity of this to the present day, but there was just some talk about this. Given that Demon1 hasn't really been linked too many other places for now, it's something worth keeping in mind, right? That EnVy might go down that direction. They're going to need to do a couple of things. But tweet your thoughts in the comment section, really. That was a big talking point. But we also have some Rostermania to discuss. So Nando Show says this, that MIBR have reached an agreement with Verno to stay around. So the last couple of days have been quite interesting, especially with regard to Verno, Cortasia, and Sentinels, because it feels like after losing Zekken to MIBR, Sentinels kind of need a new star player or something along those lines. That may not be where they go, especially if JohnQT leaves as well. Lots of questions for them to still answer. But there was a feeling that they could go and get Verno and Cortasia, and they might go the other way. In which case it's like, okay, maybe Sentinels are kind of cooking. But no, it does appear that Verno is set to stay. This makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's, look, at the end of the day, this is Team Aspas, right? Like, Aspas makes the calls. He wanted Zekken. He told the org he wanted Zekken. They went out and got Zekken. He presumably wants Mazzino and is presumably happy to have Verno still as the in-game leader. Now, of course, it's not all Team Aspas. There will be some other people making some decisions, but the point is that these guys all feel that teaming with Aspas is the best way to win. He, therefore, to a certain extent, gets to kind of choose who his teammates are going to be. Therefore, this is the quartet, Aspas, Mazzino, Verno, Zekken, looking for one. Is it going to be Tex, as has been rumoured? Should it just be Cortasia? But rumour has it that he's going to Sentinels, and that seems pretty close to getting done at this point. Now, a couple of other things to mention, because yesterday we did see this. JohnQT was like, I'm going to Hogwarts. Now, I didn't really talk about this in much detail, but there was actually a further discussion on it, because people were saying, oh, could, British Hogwarts, could it be Fnatic, right? Could it be Boaster, Zestify, right? Like, I don't know, people were trying to put 2 and 2 together here. Maybe there's something in that, maybe there's not. Could it be an interesting option for JohnQT? I don't see it, really. Boaster's the IGL. JohnQT would not be coming in as the IGL, but as a secondary caller, I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen, but some people are throwing it out there. According to some rumours, though, now Kojo apparently said on Discord, their team director, they've not yet started trials, but apparently they have at least some names on their list. And this El Barco guy says the following as to who Fnatic are at least considering. Now, again, this might be coming out of absolutely nowhere, so take it as you will. And this is very much far from an actual decision being made. But Chronicle is gone. This isn't even a rumour. Vitality have literally confirmed him on their starting lineup. So it's Kayak, it's Crashies, it's Boaster, it's Alpha. they need one. Now, would they just go and get another Russian player, right? Go get Shados, maybe go and get Vukashu. That's a very interesting one. Now, the funny thing is here that Vukashu, of course, who spent the season on DRG, qualified back in, yeah, top quality player, and he's been doing a killer job on DRG. It would be a surprise for him to turn up on Fnatic, and the fact that he quote tweets this makes me think that it's less likely to happen. If it was potentially happening, then he might have stayed silent. But yeah, he quote tweets this and says, "What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas, right? Why am I getting linked to Fnatic?" But maybe that's part of the plan, right? Vakashu says, "Oh wow, why would they consider me? Kojo, you want a trial, right?" Like, maybe that's part of the plan. So, yeah, intrigued to what your thoughts are on this in the comments below. Kicks, potentially, Fabian. Look, at the end of the day, would it be a bad idea to go and get another Turkish player alongside Alpha? It's very plausible. So, intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Just one final thing, of course, then. These are the Americas teams for next season. I guess one quick question to close out the video, really. What do you expect will change here in the next, let's say, 12 months, right? Because 100T, C9, EG, Furia, Crew, Lev, Loud, MIBR, NRG, Sen, those are the partner teams. Will they still be the partner teams come 2026? Most of them will be, I'm sure. Probably some of them won't be. Could G2 and EnVy be made official partner teams? Possible, for sure. I think it depends a little bit on how this season goes, certainly for EnVy as well. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.